Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern's Vlog series on Power Rangers Dino Charge. And today we will be covering the first episode of Power Rangers Dino Charge, Powers from the Past. Now, a couple of things before we actually get started here. First of all, I'm going to point out that I'm really excited to actually do this vlog because you'll see once I actually get into it. I will also point out I'm still not actually doing images or videos of myself because of the way that everything is over here. And I will attempt to do these a lot more frequently than I have been doing the ToQger vlogs. So I want to go ahead and apologize for all of that. But I really want to go ahead and talk about this episode. Nick.com just launched it. You can actually go watch it right now, so definitely go ahead and do that. And then you can come back and we'll talk about it together. And I assume you've already done that. So let's talk about Power Rangers Dino Charge, the first episode here. Because you know what? After dealing with the last, 6-7 years of really bad Power Rangers, this is like the very first episode that I've watched that I am genuinely excited about what's happening here. It was really good. I mean, I don't know how else to go ahead and say it. It was just a really good episode. And let's talk about why it was good and all that. I mean, first of all, let's talk about how this episode is structured. The first third of the entire episode is basically the prologue on how the Keeper, who has run away from our villain's sledge, arrives on Earth, transfers the inner gems to dinosaurs, and we even get how the extinction of the dinosaurs happened in the first place. And that first third is just amazing. It's all plot, but instead of being told through exposition later in the episode, as we get so many other times, it happens right in front of us. We see exactly how the dinosaurs became extinct, this struggle between Sludge and the Keeper, and the fact that all this happened 65 million years ago. I tell you, it was just really cool to go ahead and see that. Again, we're not going to have flashbacks or people telling us secondhand what happened. We actually got to see what happened here, and it establishes our villains primarily. I mean, we don't learn much about the Keeper and everything, but the villains. Well, let's talk about the villains real quick. I like this Sledge guy. He first appears in the episode, and he's like this big growling, I'm the tough bad guy kind of thing. But then we introduce the Canderella substitute, or her counterpart, I should say. And the fact that, they're like engaged, and he has this soft spot in his heart for her. It's like, I guess it would be adorable. I don't know. It's really funny when he, kind of like, oh, my sweet, what do you want? And he blasts the monster, one of the foot soldiers for getting in her way while she tries to sing. It's hilarious. And then, she's like the typical, we're getting married and all that kind of stuff. It's almost like Marissa Tomei and Joe Pesci, almost. I kind of got that vibe from it. Let's also point out that it establishes a couple of things about the villain as well that I find interesting. One, we see all the monsters that we're going to see later in the series are actually prisoners aboard his ship. He is actually a bounty hunter in the sense of what a bounty hunter should be. A guy who works for local law enforcement to hunt down bad guys. And he has all these bad guys on his ship. Now, somehow they're going to be implemented throughout the series and fight the Rangers and all that. But, the thing is, if he wasn't already painted as the bad guy, you would almost think he's the good guy in this episode. And I say that because he's captured all the bad guys. That is his job, to capture the bad guys. The only reason he's the antagonist is he's after the Keeper, who is established as the good guy, and thus the person chasing him is our antagonist, thus the bad guy. So I wonder if they're actually having some shades of gray in this episode about who he is and maybe his purpose. I don't know. It's just really kind of interesting that, he is a bounty hunter in the positive sense of what a bounty hunter is. So really good on that. Now, the second act, once we actually get to the present, Now, the thing is, we are introduced to all the Rangers briefly, but this episode primarily focuses on Tyler and Shelby. Riley, I think, is seen in the background somewhere, but has no speaking lines. Chase is in there, Coda's in there. Coda has like one line. So we're not really going to talk about these guys because they're not important, but this is establishing our Red Ranger and our Pink Ranger. And what I love about this episode is that when I watch it, I don't see people acting. I see people doing stuff. And what I mean by that is I am not aware that they are actors in a television show. Because unlike... Here's the thing. Neo Saban is getting it right now. I mean, instead of having characters that we're told things about, that have shallow personalities and stuff, we have characters. We have people who are genuinely funny, have natural dialogue, and are appealing on screen. I mean, Shelby, oh my goodness, Shelby is like the best female Power Ranger in years. I mean, look at what we've had to deal with in the last couple of years. Gia the bitch, Emma the girly girl, peppy kind of thing, Mia who's bland, Emily who's kind of bland herself, and before that we got Summer, and I've said enough about Summer as it is. And then before that, was Lily, and I've said all things about Lily too. I mean, I think Rose was the last good female Ranger that we've had in terms of personality and character. And Shelby just comes off the screen charming and funny and cute and sweet. It's so good. It makes me feel so good to watch this episode and feel that there's a real person there having real conversations. I mean, when she messes up the orders and everything, I love that. That was so cool. That was so cute. Again, it just seems natural. And we got Tyler. Tyler doesn't come off as, again, another good actor. He actually looks like a damn human being in this episode. He talks like one. He does things like an actual person would go ahead and do things. I mean, I'm just really surprised. This casting is so good so far. I really like these characters. I mean, they worked well together. And what I like about this is, again, the other three Rangers really don't factor into the story right now. We only get to know Tyler and Shelby. And we get one morphed sequence in the entire episode, which in this episode used no Sentai footage whatsoever, which really surprised me. But they had one fight sequence, and it was brief and to the point, and the rest of the episode was about character development and getting to know who our characters are. That's amazing. I mean, the guy that wrote this episode, I think it is Chip Lynn, and let me double check that. I'm going to go ahead and make sure because I don't want to give the wrong thing. I think it is Chip Lynn. I can't find who it is, but if I am wrong on that later, I apologize to Chip Lynn or whoever wrote this. But, they were actually talking and yet doing things in very little action, and it was still entertaining, and it was still fun because we had good actors engaging us with good with good dialogue. I mean, you guys can just tell my tone, can't you? How excited I was. I mean, when I first saw Nick, I was like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's see how bad this is and all that. And then I watched. I'm like, wow, this is really good. This was a really good episode. And again, it's minimal plot, to be honest. It's the first third is a prologue and how the Angems get on Earth. The second one is it focuses on Shelby. She wants to go on a dig. She can't go. She hides away and gets herself involved in a monster trying to steal an inner gem. And then Tyler, who's looking through a cave to help find his father where he went. And what's also great is they're not carbon copies of their Sentai counterparts. These are different characters. Shelby is completely different from Amy, and Tyler is different from Daigo. They're both, and the thing is, they're both equally great. This is what I'm talking about a proper adaptation and how you go about it. So far, and I may eat my words later on this, but so far the adaptation of the characters is great. I really love it. Now, I will just mention there are only two small bad things in this episode that I don't like, that I just have a problem with. One, the CG is horrible. You would think it would be better. I mean, honestly, it looked pretty good sometimes in Megaforce and Super Megaforce. Not that that's saying much, but right now the CG dinosaurs and the Zords, they just don't look that well. The space stuff was pretty cool and all that, but CG, and that's a minor point right now because again everything else is so good. And the second is just prehistoric Earth that kind of bothers me because one, all those dinosaurs, and you know it's probably not worth mentioning given that this is this has been established in a couple of other movies and stuff, but the T-Rex, the Stegosaurus, the Triceratops, all those dinosaurs did not coexist at the exact same time. So they all should not be there unless we are fundamentally wrong about paleontology, which we could be, but that to me is a contrivance, but one it's easy to overlook. But along with that is when the asteroids strike Earth, it's not in the form of Pangea. It looks like the modern day world because we clearly see the United States, clearly, basically. So they got the scientific details on that wrong, so that's a little bothersome. But again, everything else is so good that I can give it a pass. If this was an episode of Super Mega Force that was doing that, I rip it a new one for that. But again, this is so good so far. And again, we haven't even gotten to our Black, Blue, and Green Rangers yet. I mean, yeah, we got a little bit of Chase in there, and what we have of Chase is good. Coda was hilarious, even with his one line. And Riley, again, we just kind of saw him in the background. So, again, I don't know what else to go ahead and say. Go to Nick.com right now. Check out the episode. Watch it. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait for the next episode. This is the first time in years, I mean, probably since Wild Force, I've actually been genuinely excited for the next episode of a series. That's probably the last time I've ever been excited for that, and really that last time was when Forever Red was about to air. So that gives you an idea of how long ago I've been excited for such a thing. So that's my thoughts on Powers from the Past. Again, go watch it, and next time I just hope we continue this and it gets better. So there we go. Thank you for joining me. Have a good evening. The tavern is now closed.